Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. So by the permission of Allah, the Mighty and the Sublime, tomorrow around 1 p.m. Eastern Time, there is supposed to be a solar eclipse. About maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I'm not sure, we did a few videos, educational and instructional videos with regards to the fiqh of the kusuf or the khusuf, the eclipse, and what should be done, what should be said. We explained the term or the terminologies that are used, al-khusuf and al-kusuf with a kaf or a kha, and how the scholars give different details of when the terms are interchangeable, the parallels and the differences between the lunar eclipse, the solar eclipse, so on and so forth. All right. What we want to do in this video, by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is go over a few details. Maybe we already went over, maybe we didn't. A few fiqh, masail fiqhiyah, okay? Some masail, some fiqh issues pertaining to the kusuf or the khusuf. We explained the hadith regarding the khusuf. Now let's go over a few fiqh issues. So the first fiqh issue is, first and foremost, and this is in brief, how is the kusuf prayer to be announced? Okay, how is it to be announced? In brief, there is no adhan for the kusuf prayer, for the eclipse prayer. Rather, the scholars of Islam, the fuqaha, they say that as-salah jami'ah, congregational prayer, and there shouldn't be no specific adhan for the eclipse prayer. No adhan, no iqamah. Of course, we live in a non-Muslim land, a kafir land, a mushrik land, a pagan, occult, Freemason, whatever type of land. In most cases, the adhan isn't announced. Some places, some communities, there is. Will the Muslims make that call? Do they even know what to do? How many Muslims live in the radius of the masjid? How many communities have the infrastructure in which the majority of the houses around the masjid are Muslim-owned, etc.? That's a different story. Al-Muhim, the first summarized point, no adhan, no iqamah, a general call to be made, as-salah jami'ah, come to the congregational prayer. And that leads us to our second point, which is that the kusuf prayer should be made in congregation. It should be made in congregation by the imam. So, we've explained how that prayer is to be made. 2 rak'ah with 4 rukus. Arba'a ruku'at. 2 units, 4 rukus. The lengthy recitation and the positions, going from qiyam to ruku', back to qiyam again, reciting the Fatiha, a long surah again, then going into sajda until you come up, second rak'ah, and doing the same thing again. All right. So the kusuf or the khusuf prayer should be made in congregation. But the next issue is, can the kusuf prayer be made individually? Can a person make it individually? And if he does make it individually, should he do it in the same manner? We say in brief, yes. The prayer, inshallah, can be made individually, and it should be made in its exact manner. If a person has to make it in the house, can he do that? Inshallah ta'ala, that's permissible to make the prayer in the house. If you're with your family, your wife, your children, so on and so forth. Next point is, when should the kusuf prayer be made? We say the eclipse prayer should be made during the eclipse. Not before, not after, but during. How long will it last? 4 minutes, Allahu Alam. How long did it last in the time of the Prophet? But it should be made during the actual time of the prayer, of the actual eclipse. Okay, now, this shows us and teaches us Of course, everyone wants to see the eclipse. It's a phenomenon. It's something strange, It's something out of the ordinary, but you're supposed to take advantage of the time to make dua. All right? Remembering Allah, seeking Allah's forgiveness, making tawbah, giving sadaqah, right? Reminding you of the end of this world. Now, as we explained in the previous lectures before. So therefore, the prayer should be made during the eclipse. The next issue is what happens if the eclipse stops when you're making the prayer. Some scholars say stop the prayer. It's done. It's over. And others, they say يخففها. One should slide in the prayer, just finish up, quickly finish up, and then khalas. All right. The length of the prayer, of course, is going to vary on the length of the eclipse and the extent of the eclipse. How dark is it going to be? Full eclipse like Maghrib, or just a little gray, dusky, whatever the case may be. Wallahu ta'ala alam. All right. So that's the time of the eclipse prayer. And of course, there are other issues with regards to can you make the eclipse prayer if it's during a time in which you aren't supposed to make voluntary prayers, such as after Fajr, before sunrise, or 15, 20 minutes after sunrise, or right before Dhuhr, when the sun reaches its zenith, after Asr, before Maghrib. And there are two main views of the scholars of Islam. The first view is the view that states that the prayer for the eclipse can be made during any time, even if it's a time of prohibited prayer. And the second view is that the prayer of the eclipse should not be made during the time of prohibition. So for argument's sake, if it's tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern time, is that a time of prohibition? When does Dhuhr come in on Eastern time? All right, so those are two main views of the scholars of Islam with regards to that. All right, next summarized point is, should there be a khutbah after the eclipse prayer, or the prayer for the eclipse? There are two main views as well, or one could argue 2.5 views. The first view is the view that states there should be a khutbah. There should be a khutbah. That's view number one. So the first view states is that there should be a khutbah after the prayer for the eclipse. And the second view states that there should not be a khutbah. Inshallah ta'ala, the view stating that there should be a khutbah is the view of the majority of the scholars of al-Islam. Some scholars, they say that there shouldn't be, and they have different proofs and evidences and different reasons why they say that there shouldn't be. But the sunnah, inshallah, obviously we're not getting into the delete right now, is that there should be the khutbah after the eclipse prayer. How many khutbahs should there be? Some say that it should be just like Jumu'ah, 2. And others, they say it should just be 1. What's reported from the Prophet ﷺ? What's the dalil? How many khutbahs were there? Some say it was just 1 and not 2. So that's, a fork in the road with regards to that mas'ala, that issue. The other opinion, which is something like a third opinion, but actually not a third opinion, is that there shouldn't be a khutbah, but there should be a maw'idha, a reminder, and it doesn't have to be a khutbah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best. Khairan inshallah ta'ala. These are some of the main issues that we wanted to bring up and bring to the attention, to the listener, to the reader, to the disciple or the disciplet. Obviously, these points are هذه النقاط أو مسائل يعني مختصرة ملخصة. They are summarized. This is not a in-depth, in-detail, scholastic, scholarly discussion with the proofs, with the evidences, the comparative fiqh, why, how, what's the strongest view. This is niqat mukhtasara mulakhasa. All right, summarized points which will hopefully be a means of benefit for every single Muslim, especially the layman Muslim and the beginner, the new student of knowledge, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, with regards to what are the most important things that you need to be aware about and what you should be doing tomorrow concerning the eclipse. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us fiqh in the deen, a firmness upon that fiqh, acting upon that fiqh, and to make us of those who are beacons of light, guiding others by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not misleading others. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.